Hello, I'm Jerry Scheidbach, pastor at the Lighthouse and your brain masseur. Let's look at the truth about the results of Super Tuesday. First, the raw numbers. In terms of the delegate count, remember now that the GOP nominee requires 1,237 delegates to receive the nomination. So, with Trump at 319 delegates, well, you can see that we've got an awful lot of track ahead of us in this race before anyone can call it. Especially when you consider that Cruz is coming up on his rear with 226 delegates. That's less than 100 delegates behind the front runner. Rubio has 110 delegates. That's 209 behind Trump and 116 behind Cruz. So I think I agree with Cruz. This has come down pretty much to a battle between Trump and Cruz. Kasich, basically out of the running with only 25 delegates coming out of Super Tuesday, but apparently he intends to hang on through Ohio, which could be risky. If he loses Ohio, his own home state, that could be embarrassing and damaging to him politically. Carson, as you by now know, has walked off of the track. Now, I believe the much lauded crossover vote for Trump is a stratagem to put a Democrat on both tickets. Trump, a Democrat on the GOP ticket, and either Hillary or Bernie, a Democrat on the Democrat ticket. Bolshevik Bernie and Benghazi Hillary, with a party beaten down and laden with all kinds of scandal during Obama's administration, causes the Democrats to be very uncertain going into this election cycle. I think there is some mischief afoot here, and that many of the Democrats are crossing over to vote for Trump in order that they might have a Democrat on both tickets. Listen, the handwriting is on the wall for the Dems, and many of the liberal Democrats are crossing over to get Trump in as a way of sort of stopping their losses short in this election. And based on that assessment, I said a while back, Trump will do well in all of the open primaries where Democrats have an opportunity to vote in the GOP primary, and would do particularly well in the blue states that are open primaries. What states has Trump lost to Cruz? Well, he has lost every closed primary so far. Every time that's a primary where registered Republicans are voting for their GOP candidate, Cruz wins. There is one exception, and that's Texas. Texas is an open primary state, but Texas is Cruz's home state. So, think about it. There are a total of 21 states that have an open primary for the GOP nomination. And about half of these were part of Super Tuesday, 9 of them to be exact. And if you add the open primaries that came before Super Tuesday, New Hampshire and South Carolina, over half of the open primary states have voted. Trump has won all of them. And close scrutiny shows that he won almost every time by a margin that was created by the Democrat crossover vote. All the states involved in Super Tuesday were open primaries, except the 2 that Cruz won, Alaska and Oklahoma. And even Sarah Palin, darling of Alaska, stumping for Trump. Alaska went for Cruz over Trump in a closed primary state. He also beat out Trump in Oklahoma by 6 points. And that's worthy of some notice here, because that's somewhat troubling, given the reputation for Oklahoma being so conservative. So let me make it clear right here that I'm not saying Trump has no support among conservatives in the GOP. Not at all. In fact, it is disturbing how many who identify as conservative are buying into his con. Nevertheless, I think my assessment stands. The point is that consistently Cruz beats Trump in closed primaries. Now, Trump lost in one open primary, and that was Texas. There are 2 reasons for this. I already mentioned the first, Cruz's home state, and they love him there because he went to the Senate to do exactly what he promised he would do and did it. But also it's because, and this is important, Texas is a red state. That means it's predominantly Republican, with a large number of conservatives actively voting. And so it's much easier, to overwhelm the GOP primaries, to influence them in states where there are not a large number of conservatives voting anyway. So in blue and purple states, it gives the advantage to Trump. And also means that for Cruz to take 44% over Trump's 27% in Texas, with all that crossover voting going on, shows that his support in Texas probably runs upwards of 54%. Now, I give a very close analysis of all of this in my latest brain massage show, and you might want to check that out. Let's close with this. If you add all the votes that Cruz got with the votes that Rubio got together, and call that the conservative vote, well, Trump loses big. For example, Arkansas, Trump 33%. Conservatism, 56%. Georgia, Trump 39%. Conservatism, 48%. Tennessee, Trump 39%. Conservatism, 46%. Virginia, Trump 35%. Conservatism, 49%. In all of those states, it falls hard on the side of Cruz against Trump. Just like Rubio said, in all of the elections so far, 2/3 of the conservative vote is voting against Trump. Now, Trump still wins in Alabama. Trump 43%, conservatism 40%. Pretty close. But remember, 1 week before Super Tuesday, KKK Grand Master David Duke endorsed Trump. Well, how does that factor into the Alabama vote? Well, it just so happens that Alabama, along with Tennessee and Louisiana, are hotbeds of KKK activity. So Trump's hesitancy, balking when he was called on to denounce Duke's endorsement, is very telling. He understands the dynamics in those states. And it gave him cover and time to get a backroom deal with the Duke, so that when the dealing Donald dissed the Duke of racism, Duke would not withdraw his endorsement. And you'll notice he didn't. And then there's uber liberal Massachusetts, Trump 49 and conservatism only 28. Well, that's no surprise. And uber liberal Vermont with Trump 33 and conservatism 29, which is actually pretty close given all the crossover voting going on. But no one is surprised that conservatism loses in those states. But even so, it's almost certainly because of Democrat crossover voting. And by the way, talk to these crossover Dems. These are not the Reagan Democrats who left the party disgusted with its liberalism and were drawn to Reagan conservatism because they identified ideologically with that conservatism. That's what happened with the Reagan Democrats. That's not what's going on with these so-called Trump Democrats. The Trump Democrats see in Trump someone just like them. They see a liberal, and they can identify with him, and they look to him to be a way to stop their losses in this upcoming election. Talk to them. They're liberals voting for someone they're comfortable with. It's going to take a little more time for all of this to shake out, but let's hope Cruz and Rubio figure out what has to be done here to beat Trump. God complained that Judah had set up kings, but not by me, he said in Hosea 8, verse 4. God gave to Israel the power, the privilege to appoint their own rulers, but he wanted them to do it guided by him. Well, they abused that privilege and finally lost it and were delivered over to the power of oppressors, and that's exactly what's happening in America. We have, for the first time in my lifetime, an opportunity to vote for a genuine, born-again, Bible-believing, God-fearing Christian who understands Christianity the way the Bible teaches it, a biblical Christian. We have that opportunity in front of us right now. And yet many Christians are blowing it. If we don't pay attention here and take the opportunity we've been given by God to vote for a man who is a genuine God-fearing patriot, then I guess we get what we deserve. But I'm warning you, we will lose, ultimately, our liberties to the power of oppressors. That's something for you to think about.